Who decides where your attention goes? Who do you think decides where your attention goes? So, today we're going to look at the way your brain represents things, how those representations influence the responses you generate, and what happens when you begin changing the process deliberately. We're going to look at things that most people experience every day: procrastination, confidence, overthinking, decisions, motivation, all that sort of stuff. And instead of simply describing these things, we're going to investigate what's actually happening underneath. And I'm going to get you to investigate your own mind rather than simply listen to me talk about somebody else's, you know? So, for those of you who don't already know, I am Darren Shaw. I'm a BSc psychology graduate from the United Kingdom originally. I'm an NLP trainer and a modeler of excellence. I've spent more than 2 decades studying human behavior, communication, and the processes through which people create change. And today, just in case you're thinking, hold on a minute, where's Marvin? What's going on? I'm standing in for Marvin Reed today. Um, so yes, that's what's going on. It's my first time on a Friday. Woo-hoo-hoo. um, and yeah, just going a bit more into the old NLP stuff, and again, I want you guys thinking about the mechanisms of how the stuff that I'm saying relates to you. Because for real, who's driving this brain of yours? How about we start with something that you already know? Think of something that you have been meaning to do, something important, something you've probably told yourself more than once that you really should get done. And then notice what happens inside you as you think about doing it. Notice what you see. What do you hear? What happens in your body? Where does your attention go? hmm Now, if you've just joined us, let me tell you where we're going. This is NLP, neuro linguistic programming. Who's driving your brain? We're investigating what happens underneath things that people normally just label. Just label it. Oh, this is procrastination. Oh, you or me is overthinking. Oh, I'm lacking confidence, decision making, motivation. People use these labels, but I want to go just one level beneath that. Instead of saying that's just how I am, I, I want to lead you guys in asking a more interesting question. How am I actually producing this response? And for those of you whose attention I have right now, we're going to test some of this rather than just talk about it. So now go back to that thing that you were thinking about, that thing that you've been meaning to do that you haven't quite done yet, and you know that you needed to get it done. Something that really important thing. And notice what what do you see as you think about this important thing that needs to get done? What do you see in your mind's eye? Where is it? Is it out in front of you? Is it to the left? Is it above? Is it down? How big is it? How close is it? What do you hear? And for those of you who hear something, what's the quality of that internal voice that comes up? And what happens in your body? Maybe notice what happens as you make the picture in your mind a little bit bigger. Notice what happens. Now make it smaller. Notice what happens if you move it further away. And now bring the result you want closer. Notice what changes. Possibly turn the internal commentary down. If there's negative thoughts coming up, turn that down. Notice what shifts as you change your internal experience. Notice what happened when you changed the way you represented it in your mind's eye. We're having some fun today, and I'm hoping this makes sense to y'all, because a lot of people lack awareness of the fact that you can change the way you represent things in your mind. If you've got goals or problems or whatever in your mind, you can change the images in your head. You can change the sounds in your mind. You can change the feelings in your body. When I think of something important that I need to get done, so I hope this makes sense logically, everyone. I'm thinking now using my graphic design mindset. Say, for example, I've got something I need to get done, and it's quite important, and it needs to be done within the next week. If the image that I have in my mind of getting the thing done, if the image that I have in my mind is really small, black and white, it's really dim, and it seems very far off in the distance, could you imagine how that would motivate me differently to if I had an image in my mind of getting a thing done, and it's really big, bright, close up, it's moving, I can see it right in front of me, it's in panoramic vision, and like every direction that I look in my mind's eye, I can see something happening somewhere, so on and so forth. Could you maybe see the difference how one represents things in one's mind makes the difference? At the time of recording, there's something that I need to get done within the next 5 days. And I was thinking about this thing yesterday. I was thinking, right, need to do that thing within the next 5 days. And I noticed the tone of voice that I had when I said it. I said it in that tone of voice. Oh, got 5 days to get that thing done. Does that sound like a motivated voice? When I noticed my own tonality, my own tone of voice, and I noticed the image in my mind of the thing getting done in 5 days, the 19th of August at the time of recording, 2026, I noticed that the image in my mind wasn't extremely motivating. The voice that I was using to talk about it wasn't extremely motivated. And in that moment, I thought, Darren, practice what you preach. And I thought about August the 19th. And I noticed what imagery I had in my mind. And I noticed it was very dim and cloudy and not quite clear. So what I did is I brought the imagery closer to me being able to see it. And I altered the imagery in my mind to see a visual representation of having the thing done. I saw an image of myself and noticed the smile on my face, the future me's face, having noticed that the thing has been done. And I saw this clearly in my mind's eye. Then I asked myself, how am I feeling in this moment, noticing that this target has been met and that the thing has been done? And I noticed this growing feeling that started in my tummy area and moved up closer to being in my chest and just moved backwards and forwards between the two, just pulsating, noticing how I feel having got the task done. So I've got the visual imagery in my mind, the feeling in my body, and the last part is the whole, oh, I got to get that thing done. And I changed it. I changed the tonality of what was in my head to, Darren, you ain't focusing on ain't nothing else. You ain't focusing on, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. You focusing on getting this thing done. Woohoo! Darren. Oh, come on, everybody. Come on. Isn't this way more motivated than, oh, I gotta get the thing done next week? Sometimes when I want to get myself really motivated, so I'm doing it now. Sometimes I want to get myself motivated, and I imagine a choir, a singing group of people in my mind singing, Darren, you gotta get it done. And maybe another part of the choir singing in a different key, Darren, you gotta get it done. And they all sing it together, Darren, you gotta get it done. Woohoo! And maybe I'll put a horn section in there, maybe some drums. Get the idea? Now, this auditory representation in my head of having the thing done, having celebratory music, having a choir in the back of my mind, being heavily motivated. Already, I'm doing it now as I describe it to you, and it's already having an impact on how I represent things in my mind's eye, so that I can drive my own brain to move forward to go getting what I want to get. I'm sure some of you will be aware, and maybe you've even experienced this yourself. There are some people, there is probably millions, maybe even billions of people. I don't know who's counting. Let's just go for millions. There's millions or billions of people who, when they wake up in the morning, the first thought that goes through their mind is, oh God, I've got to wake up. Oh, I've got to go to work today. Oh, I've got so many things that I've got to do. Ugh. Like, can we all agree that this is something that is quite, normal? Especially if somebody's maybe they're doing a 9 to 5 job, or even in an entrepreneurship situation where they're not 100% happy about, what they've created in their life, their situation. The amount of people that I know that wake up in the morning and their first thought is, oh, I don't want to get up. I learned about this sort of stuff and, driving your brain a long time ago. And the moment I realized that, I started saying to myself, right, what do I want my brain to be doing first thing in the morning? And I don't know about you guys, but these days, when I open my eyes, the moment that I've got my brain together and I can think straight, I choose the state that I want to be in, and I choose the tone of voice that I have in my head. Now, I know that whether it's you here now or other people in the world, I know a lot of people are like, yeah, but I have that negative state, that negative tone of voice. I do that on purpose because I'm not happy. Well, I know some people want to say, oh, it's the chicken or the egg. Do you wait until some great stuff is going on in your life before you be happy? Or can you put yourself in a positive and useful state so you can go forward as you try to create great stuff in your life? Chickens, eggs, whatever. I don't know about you guys, but I really want to encourage you guys to consider making it that when you wake up in the morning, you're not just thinking about what clothes to wear. You're not just thinking about what perfume or aftershave to put on. What would it be like if you could choose what attitude you're going to wear? Sometimes in life, I'm human. Sometimes in life, I've got problems, like anybody. Business problems, people problems, personal problems of all different types. When you've got problems, when you've got stuff in your life that isn't exactly where you want it to be, it's in those moments, in those times of life where it's even more important to drive your brain, where it's even more important to say, right, I know I've got this difficult thing to deal with, and how about I put myself into a useful state? One, maybe you could say to yourself, "Do you know what? I've got some challenges to deal with today, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get to the end of the day in one piece, and I'm going to do my best." Because, as my father used to always say, "Darren, your best. That's all you can ever do." And at the end of the day, you can review what happened and see what you can do differently in the future, or whatever the thing is. Who's driving your brain? Quick room reset for those of you who have just entered the room. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Julia. Hello, Derek, the notary giant. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, Eve, Joe. Hi, Chris, Asia, Zara, Suhab, Amber, and Yuki. Hello, hello, hello. If you've just joined, I'm Darren Shaw, an NLP trainer, psychology graduate. I'm standing in for Marvin Reed today, who usually does Find Your Focus and Win on Fridays. And I'm just standing in. It's my first time doing a Friday, so I feel honoured. And we're investigating one question: who's driving your brain? I've been encouraging you to investigate what happens inside your mind when you think about something you want to change. We've just started testing what happens when you change the way that you represent it. So, for those of you who haven't had any fun with this yet, do some quick NLP stuff, super basic. Pick something real right now. Pick something really real in your life right now, something that you keep postponing. Don't have to tell anyone. Just choose something that's pretty real for you right now. Something that maybe you keep overthinking. Could be a decision that you're circling, or something that you're capable of but don't consistently do yet. Got it? Stay with me. Oh, by the way, link at the top of the screen. It's my redesigned link that I will put at the top of all of my Clubhouse rooms. For those of you who are not yet on my mailing list in my DSNLP ecosystem, click the link at the top of the screen where it says click me. And you can put your name and email address and you can join my DSNLP ecosystem. You'll get an email every now and again, just sort of letting you know what's going on, or giving you a free bit of thought about neurolinguistic programming or so on and so forth. And you might every now and again hear about my various offers and whatnot. No obligation. But yeah, click that link at the top of the screen. Join my mailing list for absolutely free. Now, back to that thing that you keep postponing. What does your mind actually do with it? What does your mind actually do with it? That's something you keep postponing. Maybe some of you want to and keep these questions going in the back of your mind to some degree. Maybe some of you are thinking of something that you're capable of doing but you don't consistently approach with confidence. Again, same sort of question: how does your mind represent you before you do it? Maybe some of you are thinking about decision making. Think about a decision that you've been circling. What does your mind do when you consider each option? Maybe some of you are thinking about overthinking something. Bring something to mind that your brain keeps returning to, something that you keep overthinking, and just notice how it runs. Just notice what you notice. I'm not here to lecture you, so I'm not going to tell you what to do with these things. I just want you noticing these things. But notice all the things that I just suggested, they're all different problems, confidence, overthinking, decision making issues, different people, all of you, different circumstances. But yet we can repeatedly find something underneath them all, no matter what you were thinking about. There's a process. There's a process beneath all of these things. That's what I want you investigating. That's what I want you thinking about. This stuff called NLP, neuro linguistic programming, that's what that mainly focuses on. The processes that human beings use that underlie these words that we all use. People say things like, oh, confidence issues or imposter syndrome or motivation. People use these labels constantly and talk about them in passing and in conversation. But the thing I love about NLP specifically, why I'm always going on about it, because NLP really digs down into the processes beneath these labels. Because when you start looking at the processes, you start to begin to identify things that you can actually do something about. You can actually make changes and shifts and la da 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 da. Now, before I do another one of those lovely room reset-y things, I ask of all of you, if you can observe the process, whatever processes have come up in your minds, what else might you be able to change? And what would that make possible? Welcome, 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 everyone. If you've just joined, I'm Darren Shaw, originally from the United Kingdom. Is a Jamaican born in London, but right now I'm in the Philippines, chilling out. Before this, I was messing around, moved around Mexico, Jamaica, Holland, the Netherlands, France, Belgium, just touring around the world, really. After people were saying, Darren, you can't take over the world. I'm like, well, let me go and run around the world and see what kind of supply chains I can create at a low level to create fun business opportunities. But I'm chilling in the Philippines right now. Food's great, sunshine every single day. I need it. I'm just resting here, man. It's a super restful country. It's amazing. And I'm asking a question today and investigating with you one single question. Who is driving your brain? I'm standing in for Marvin this Friday morning, and we're having a look at something surprisingly practical. And for those of you following along, we've discovered that the way your brain represents something can influence the response you generate. Now, before I continue, I want to say hello to anyone who's in the room. If anyone is, yeah, actually, do you know what? Is anyone on stage willing to speak and say hello and just let me know how much of what I'm throwing down on the table you're picking up and what sense this is making for you?
Hey Darren. Yeah, so I'm listening in the background. What was your main question about? Just like what's driving how you think in the background?
Is driving your brain?
What's driving my brain? I think the thing is that, I'm obviously quite a self-aware person, and I'm often waking up to many responsibilities and things I have to do. So, but I always do like a little self check, and like I just observe what I'm feeling rather than what I'm thinking, because I think the two are often connected. Sometimes you wake up and you feel in a slightly anxious state, and so I think, okay, I feel a little anxious, but I don't really know why. What might that be to do with? Or I just feel calm, and so I try and do like a bit of a grounding exercise where I have the time to, where I just step into gratitude for the day ahead that I'm about to have, and all the good things that are coming. But it's very easy. I notice, like the minute you wake up, for your brain to become, it's like switching on it. It's like switching on your laptop. Suddenly you switch on your laptop, and all the tabs that you had open from the day before, if you bother to turn it off, all pop up again. And I think that's the thing. It's about being aware of what tabs you have open, and which ones are relevant. Like, because your thoughts, if they are left unguarded, can go in so many different directions. But I think the key direction that you want them to go in are in the direction that you want to be heading. So if you're observing that you're having thoughts around things that aren't particularly helpful, because they're not taking you where you need to go, then how do we move those thoughts out the way and focus on the things that are important instead? And I think that's the thing, is it's about how, learning to train your mind to be a bit more disciplined. So I always talk about, what's your we talk about physical fitness, but also what's your mental fitness as well.
Started by saying that you're generally a self-aware person. I caught that. So would you say that you are driving your brain all the time, or
I
maybe
not
most of it?
well,
How would you
no.
answer that?
I yo-yo between the two. I think I can get lost in thought. I think I can. I think I can get sidetracked very easily, but it's a bit like letting go of the wheel and then suddenly being aware that you've let go of the wheel and that you need to take back control of it. So I think it's, I don't know if it's possible for us to be completely in control of our mind at all times. I'm not sure that it is. I think that, I don't know how much energy that would take. But it's a bit like the elastic band, isn't it? It's like, how far can you stretch that theory, or stretch that and keep constantly bringing it back. And I think it's not about how much of how much of you is driving your brain. Are you the observer of the mind, or are you the consumer of the mind? I think it's to do with how much awareness throughout your day are you observing that you were in thought. And sometimes it's necessary just to lose ourselves in thought. But I think that on a general level, I am pretty good if I'm having perhaps anxious thoughts or negative thoughts or whatever. That normally creates a feeling, and when I become aware of the feeling, or when I become aware of unhelpful thoughts, I am pretty good now at being able to say, I see what's happening here. Okay, let's step away from this a little bit. And that's I guess where I come. So I'd say it's a mix.
I loved your second um, uh, 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 speech. Actually, your second answer even better. You went way more into describing the process that you use, and I love what you said there about, can you be aware and fully like driving your mind all of the time. um I would massively agree with you on that. I love that, and thank you for your contribution today.
Thank you.
It's the most intelligent thing that I've heard anyone say in quite a while. I'm here in the Philippines. It's really difficult to find people that want to talk about these sorts of things, even on Clubhouse sometimes. So I really, seriously, it's not one of those, oh my God, I love what you just said, when I'm completely bullshitting you just to be nice on Clubhouse or whatever. I seriously really love what you just said, because you literally went into describing the processes underlying the other stuff, the more labely type stuff. So that was brilliant. I love that. I love that. Thank
Thanks.
you. You're welcome. You're not going to get too many compliments out of me that often. So, no, I'm joking. I'm joking.
How you doing? This is Derek, and I was thinking about what you were saying about the who's running your mind and everything. What came to my mind is, over the years of our lives, it's really more of it. When I think about who's running my mind, my thoughts, it's those characters that have evolved even from the very beginning of understanding how to communicate. In the beginning, I would leverage or figure out how to whatever the conversation was. What can I get from this person? Evolving to what can I help? How can I help or assist this person from one aspect of or perspective of communicating with people to the next. So who's running my mind is a layer it. I'd like to hear your thoughts on how you think about the layers of characters of the people we have become over time. So we've changed over time every 10 or so years, I think it is. We are not the same person. We grow, we become better or different, if not better. Uh, but the person or who's running my thoughts is more of a layered effect in my mind, the way I think about myself. It's not just, you know, at this point in time, the scared kid or another point in time who I was at one point before, but now all that consideration comes into play, even to the point of who I want to be is running my mind, is where I'm shifting and transitioning to not just who I was, but more of who I want to be. What does that person look like? What does that person think about? I hope that kind of makes sense.
It kind of makes sense, 100%. And you've taken it to a whole nother level. I love that. Um, while he was talking, I was thinking, yeah, where am I at around that? Um, I think, I mean, while you were talking, the thoughts that were coming up in my mind were more like, right, so I'm 46 years old. So I was born in 1980, 46 years old. And in terms of the fractionation of the different parts of self, and I'm assuming I know what you're talking about, and feel free to correct me if it's different. But I think I'm in line with what you're saying there. There's been times in my life where I've not known really who I am, or who I'm supposed to be, or which version of me is the real me. Everyone's got their own version of this, depending on sort of how your upbringing and your experiences in life and rare.
Yeah.
Um, one
Can
moment,
I?
Tati. Oh, did you mean to do that?
Yeah, I mean, can I talk?
Yeah, just give me a moment. Let me just land this point, and
Yeah,
then I'll
sure,
come right
sure,
back
sure.
to you. Yeah, no worries. But yeah, in a nutshell, for me, for my personal situation, it's a bit confusing because my mother and father were born in Jamaica, so they raised me to think like a Jamaican, which is not very useful when you are born in London, England, United Kingdom. Not useful at all in social settings and certain business settings and interacting with other people. So for many years, for literally for decades, that we part, and maybe this is a conversation for another day, going deeper into these sorts of things, split self type, parts of self type stuff. But for many decades, when I'm in a certain situation, it'll be like, oh, one part of my brain wants to deal with it in a way that my mother and father and culture and people would suggest that I deal with it, because that's the automatic, my mother tongue, my mother brain, that would want to deal things in a certain way. But there'd be another part of my brain, because I'm born in England, that would want to deal with it in a completely different way, which is like completely at odds with the first way. And this had me cut up and confused for a long period of time. In situations, I'd be confused. I'd be like, should I do what my mother would suggest that I would do? Should I do what my father would suggest that I do? Should I do what my school teacher would suggest that I do? Should I do what the British government would suggest that I do? Should I do what my friends would suggest that I do? And God, it would get worse if I shared any of this type of thinking with my friends, associates, family, because they would just confuse the issue more. And then different parts of these different cells became different parts of me. And for years, I kid you not, for years and years and years, I was not very integrated or aligned with who and what I am. And it's only, do you know what? I'll be honest with you, it was during COVID when I had a lot of time to sit down and be with myself. Literally during COVID, where I sat down and sort of started really consolidating these thoughts and questions and rare. And even having fun doing even more of that now. I spend most of my time here in the Philippines just sitting alone, like 20 hours a day, um, just really consolidating even more of those thoughts. So I don't know. It's not really an answer I'm giving. Not even suggesting you were asking too much of a question, but that's what it made me think about, Derek. Just all of that, and I think the older we get, if we have the intention to, the more easier it can become to create an aligned self, one that the version of you that you're comfortable with, that you want to go for the rest of your life being, And at the same time know that those other aspects of you that you're putting away and filing away neatly, there might be some context in the future where it's useful to pull open those old files and utilize those old behaviors which aren't useful all the time, and see what's what. You know what I mean? I'm going to come back around to you, Derek, just to double check and see if that sort of lands with you. But I want to see what Tatty's saying. What's going on, Tatty?
So I'd love to answer on the question if you don't mind, Darren. Who's driving the brain? Well, for me, the answer differs if it's a practical goal or a goal I consider very important as I'm changing, shifting my identity now, or it's another normal daily life. Because, in the normal daily life, sometimes I'm so emotional. Sometimes I think only from my mind. But as I told you, I'm just trying to get out of my comfort zone as I'm almost an entrepreneur. So it's always for me now, or the thing that's controlling my behavior. It's like from the inner beliefs to outer actions, because I'm changing the comfort zone, I'm changing the identity. And yeah, that's it. That's what I want to say.
And Tatty, speaking to you and anyone else that's sort of interested in this, um, the thing around entrepreneur, because obviously me and you had a conversation before, not that long ago, and it was brief, but I remember it. You stand out, and you were saying that about the comfort zone. Just I don't usually like give advice or tell people what I think or whatever, but something I kind of discovered during the first part of the pandemic in 2020. I wanted to tell my boss to get lost, and I didn't want to have my job anymore. I wanted to quit my job and become an entrepreneur. But early 2020, I won't lie, I was terrified of the idea. Having the security of having a good amount of money just landing automatically in my bank account every single month because I'm doing a job is a really, really cool and comfortable thing to be able to do. And um, but still, there was this part of me that wanted to be free. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to run my own thing. I wanted to do my own thing. And I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to think about that. I didn't know how to get out of that comfort zone. I just knew I needed to, but I didn't know where to place my mind in order to do that. So I use this, this neurolinguistic programming stuff is heavily about modeling the mindsets of people that are much more effective and much more excellent at doing something than the average. So what I did is I identified, so this was with my NLP hat on, I identified a couple of people that I knew personally that were very, very good at running their own entrepreneurial business at a very high level where they're interacting with thousands of customers for great products. One guy created and sold a telecommunications product in the United Kingdom. Another guy was in charge of a global conference thing, and he was based in India, Indian guy. So I contacted those two, and then there was a lady I contacted who was really good at what do you call that stuff? Network selling sort of stuff. So anyway, I contacted these people and I interviewed them. I interviewed them in order to identify what are the processes that go on in their minds when they are launching new projects. So I had them think back to times when they were about to launch new projects, and I wanted to know what was the thing that goes on in their mind. And my main thing was I wanted to find out what is it that they all have in common? What's that golden thread? What's that thing they all have in common? Again, this is what NLP is truly about, NLP modeling. And I spoke to one of the guys, the guy in India, and he started telling me about how in his spare time he likes to climb mountains. And I was just like, okay, this is interesting. I wasn't sure yet what it had to do with what I was asking about, but I thought, let me suspend disbelief. So he kept talking about mountains. And then after talking about climbing mountains for a while and where he puts the hooks and the lines and the wires and whatever, I can't even remember now. He then went back to talking about his business, where he was launching new projects during the pandemic, which I thought was crazy, but it worked. And um, and then he started likening being an entrepreneur that is powerfully going out into the world. He started likening it to climbing a mountain. And he started using the metaphors of climbing a mountain and how it's risky, and you've got to put safety lines there to make sure that if even if you fall, there's something there to hold you up to make sure that you're okay. Da, 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 da. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Then on to the next guy, the guy that set up and owns a telecommunications company in the United Kingdom, very successful, and he'd just sold one of his companies for a few million British pounds, blah 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 blah. Started chatting to him, and he started talking to me about skydiving, parachuting, diving, surfing, and I was thinking, hold on a minute, what's going on here? Because I didn't ask any of these people to start talking to me about these things; they just started going into it, and I noticed with these two guys, and then later on I went on to having conversations with some other people where I noticed there's a pattern here. And then later on I went in to look into research about this stuff to find out that this is like a commonly known thing. Being an entrepreneur is about being comfortable with risk and uncertainty. Now, you touched on comfort zones. And when you said that, I thought, oh, this could be useful to mention this. Now, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to sit here giving a lecture about these things, but you whatever it is your relationship is at the moment with those two things, risk and uncertainty, as an entrepreneur, you have to, if you want to be successful in whatever it is you're talking about, you have to improve your relationship with risk and uncertainty. What I found in my studies and what I found in looking at other people's studies and just having chit chats with other people that are amazing at these things are people that enjoy risky things, and they're good at doing risky things, and they're good at jumping into uncertainty and not necessarily knowing exactly what's going to happen next, but being comfortable with that, being able to jump out of a plane and being comfortable with that and enjoying the thrill, climbing mountains and being comfortable with that and enjoying the thrill. Now, I don't know if there's areas of your life where you've enjoyed the thrill, enjoyed the uncertainty, whether it's getting into a new relationship or climbing mountains, surfing, skydiving, whatever it is.
I'm addicted to skydiving, by the way.
Oh, say that again. I missed that.
To try skydiving there.
Are you serious? Oh my! What, you like jump out of planes?
Listen, anything on air, like if you saw my pictures when I'm skydiving, I'm doing like a fly kiss and raising two fingers from my hand. My friend telling me, "Oh my God, you're on the sky alone and you're doing a fly kiss." I enjoy it on the air. I enjoy it.
Then you've got this.
Listen, but
This
but
entrepreneur thing that you're about to dive into, you've got this.
but there's Darren. Thank you for like allowing me to notice because I think I need so. Thank you for reminding me to take. I think I need a course in risk management, right? As I go crazy, you know?
Would reverse engineer yourself when you go jumping out of planes. Like, who does that? Sorry, can you see? Can you see? I've got a mental representation of jumping out of planes that probably isn't going to help me right now if I want to do that. Crikey.
For
Not quite. No. No.
you will get addicted because it will raise some hormone. Well, and you it will raise it like you wanna go crazy in life. You see everything small. Any goal you will see small. For me, I see this when I do skydiving. I see the whole world is small. Any goal I want is just that small. And when I'm on land, I see it big, you know?
Mm, you've got this. I'm not even. Oh, crikey, I've got this. And Tati, the last invitation that I gave you last time we spoke, it's still open. If you wish to take advantage of that, so remember that one. Oh, crikey! Look at the time. 8 minutes till the end. I want to say hello to Trisha, who's just entered the room. We've been talking today. Crikey, I love it when seeing the time fly. We've been talking today about the main question of this room: who's driving your brain? If you've just joined or joined with the last 10 minutes or so, I'm Darren Shaw. I'm an NLP trainer and a psychology grad. And we're just investigating this one question: who's driving your brain? I'm standing in for Marvin today. And we've literally just spent the room just investigating something very practical. And if you notice, when I'm asking people questions or when I'm getting into a conversation with you, I'm less interested in the generic labels. I'm less interested in, generic history and generic idea. I'm more interested in your process of thinking as you're thinking about these things, whether it's things that you want to achieve in the future or things that you're working on overcoming or whatever. I'm mainly interested in processes of thought. I'm more interested in your cognition and the mechanisms that are involved in you moving from where it is you have been to where it is you are going. And this is the kind of person that I'm in when I'm in conversations, whether it's with my clients, friends, families, students, whatever it might be. I'm always trying to encourage people to, in the words of Sharon, sort of take back control of that steering wheel again for a minute, drive you in a direction that's going to be more useful for you, and then maybe let go of that steering wheel and entrust that to your unconscious mind so you can continue to keep it moving forward. That's what it's about here today. And your answer to this question, who's driving your brain, you don't have to tell me, you don't have to tell anybody, do you know what I mean? But I do think it's a useful question to ask sometimes, especially in moments where things are going great, or in moments where things are not going so great, just to sort of remind yourself, like, who is driving your thing. And just on a sort of final kind of thoughts type thing, for those of you paying attention right now, choose one thing that you have been experiencing repeatedly. One thing that you've been experiencing over and over again repeatedly. And what have you discovered about how you currently produce it? Again, staying on that mechanisms piece, not going into the story of, well, this happened to me and that happened to, no, 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 no. What have you discovered about how you currently produce that thing that keeps happening to you, for you? And for those of you engaging in this, what part of that process could you experiment with changing? And if you were to change it, what would you notice? What would you do differently? What result could that create? It's kind of how life works, really, and cognitive level. You have, experience leads to structure, leads to choice, leads to behavior, leads to result. There's all these ongoing mechanisms going on underneath all of these cloud fog of thoughts that we have spinning around inside our mental lexicon. So perhaps the useful question isn't, why am I like this? Perhaps sometimes the useful question to ask yourself is, how am I producing this experience? Because once you can observe the process, you can have something that you can experiment with and change, or stay the same if you want. And this is the work that I do. This is what I do with this whole neuro linguistical programming stuff and cognitive psychology and. I teach NLP and master classes. I do use NLP in coaching and everything that I'm about. Even before I found NLP, I've always been interested in what's the process that creates situations. What's the process that creates the thoughts in my mind? What's the process that creates the problems that I'm having in life? Because if you're constantly having the same problem in your life over and over and over and over and again, who do you think it is that's generating that? What I like to do with people is I like to take what's actually happening in somebody's life or business, find the process behind it, and work with that process directly in order to help people decide what aspects of it they want to shift. Who's driving your brain? And then once you internally generate some kind of answer to that, have fun enjoying not the stories necessary that you tell yourself, but have fun thinking about the process, the mechanism by which you go about doing whatever it is you do with your brain when you're driving it. Again, thank you for being here today, everybody.